In the early 7th century, a new power was stirring in the Arabian Peninsula, a force that would redraw the map of the world in a remarkably short time. This is the story of the early Islamic conquests, a period of breathtaking expansion that saw armies, fueled by faith and ambition, forge one of the largest empires history has ever known. It's a story not just of battles and generals, but of clashing civilizations, shifting cultures, and the birth of a new world order. Our journey begins in the 620s, the two superpowers of the age. The Byzantine or Eastern Roman Empire and the Sasanian Persian Empire had just concluded a decades-long war. They were exhausted, their treasuries empty, their armies depleted. They had fought each other to a standstill, leaving a power vacuum just as a new, unified force emerged from the south. Following the death of the Prophet Muhammad in 632, the Islamic community was led by a series of caliphs, or successors, who directed this explosive energy outward. The first caliph, Abu Bakr, consolidated control over the Arabian tribes during the Ridda Wars, unifying them under the banner of Islam. This created a battle-hardened, motivated, and unified military force ready for campaigns beyond the peninsula's borders. The first major targets were the weakened giants next door. The invasion of Byzantine Syria and Palestine began around 634. The Muslim armies were often outnumbered, but they were highly mobile, masters of desert warfare and led by brilliant tacticians like Khalid ibn al-Walid, known as the Sword of God. Instead of seeking slow, grinding sieges, they used speed and surprise to isolate and destroy Byzantine field armies. The decisive moment came in 636 at the Battle of Yarmouk. In a massive, multi-day engagement shrouded by a sandstorm, the Arab forces delivered a crushing blow to a huge Byzantine army. The defeat was catastrophic for the Byzantines. It shattered their military presence in the region and opened the floodgates. One by one, ancient cities like Damascus, Antioch, and finally Jerusalem in 638 fell under Muslim control. The local populations, many of whom were disaffected with Byzantine rule due to religious disputes and heavy taxes, often offered little resistance, sometimes even welcoming the change in masters who promised lower taxes and greater religious tolerance for non-Chalcedonian Christians and Jews. Simultaneously, another front opened to the east against the Sasanian Persian Empire. Like the Byzantines, the Sasanians were politically fractured and militarily spent. The Arab invasion of Iraq began with a series of raids that soon escalated into a full-scale conquest. The pivotal clash occurred at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah around 636. Over several days of brutal fighting, the smaller Arab army, under the command of Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, managed to defeat the massive Sasanian force led by its top general, Rostam Faragzad. The Sasanian capital, Ctesiphon, with its legendary riches, was captured shortly after. The Emperor Yazdegerd III fled eastward, trying to rally support, but the heart of his empire was lost. The final nail in the Sasanian coffin came at the Battle of Nahavand in 642, dubbed the Victory of Victories by the Arabs. This battle effectively destroyed the last major Sasanian army, and over the next decade, the entire Iranian plateau fell under the control of the rapidly expanding caliphate. The Sasanian Empire, a civilization that had lasted for over 4 centuries, ceased to exist. With Syria and Persia secured, the expansion continued with astonishing momentum. To the west, the target was Byzantine Egypt, the breadbasket of the Roman world. Led by the shrewd general Amr ibn al, as a small Arab force of just a few thousand men crossed into Egypt in 639. It seemed like a reckless gamble. But Amr used his knowledge of the terrain and the element of surprise to his advantage. He defeated Byzantine forces at key battles, like Heliopolis, and laid siege to the formidable fortress of Babylon, near modern Cairo, Alexandria, the great Mediterranean metropolis and capital of Byzantine Egypt. Surrendered in 642, the loss of Egypt was a devastating blow to the Byzantine Empire, depriving it of its wealthiest province and a vital source of grain. This conquest secured the caliphate's western flank and provided a new base for further expansion across North Africa. The push across North Africa was a slower, more grinding affair than the swift conquests of Syria and Persia. The region was vast, and the invaders faced stiff resistance, not only from the remaining Byzantine garrisons, but also from the indigenous Berber tribes. It took several decades of back-and-forth campaigns. Cities like Tripoli fell in the 640s, but the advance stalled and restarted multiple times. A key figure in this phase was Uqba ibn Nafi, who founded the city of Karawang in modern-day Tunisia as a military base for further operations. His legendary expedition reached the Atlantic coast in the 680s, after periods of fierce Berber resistance. Led by figures like the warrior queen Kahina, the Arabs finally consolidated their control over the Maghreb by the early 8th century. This decades-long campaign transformed the region, gradually leading to the Islamization and Arabization of the Berber populations. From the shores of the Atlantic in North Africa, the gaze of the conquerors turned north, across the narrow strait of water to the Iberian Peninsula, then ruled by the Visigothic kingdom. In 711, a Berber and Arab force, led by Tariq ibn Ziyad, crossed the strait at the rock that now bears his name, Gibraltar, or Jabal Tariq, meaning Tariq's mountain. The Visigothic kingdom was weak, plagued by internal power struggles. At the Battle of Guadalete, Tariq's army decisively defeated the Visigothic king, Roderick. The Visigothic state crumbled with astonishing speed. Within a few short years, Muslim forces had overrun most of the peninsula, establishing a new province they called Al-Andalus. This marked the furthest extent of the initial wave of conquests into Western Europe. Their advance was eventually halted in 732 at the Battle of Tours in modern day. France by a Frankish army led by Charles Martel, but their presence in Spain would last for nearly 800 years, creating a unique and brilliant civilization. While armies pushed west into Europe, others were driving east, deep into Central Asia, following the conquest of Persia. Arab generals pushed into the regions of Khorasan, Transoxiana, and what is now Afghanistan and Pakistan. They clashed with Turkic tribes, Chinese forces of the Tang dynasty, and various local principalities. The conquest of this region was gradual and complex. The Battle of Talas River in 751 is a significant landmark, where Arab forces defeated a Tang Chinese army. While not a massive battle, its consequences were huge. It halted Chinese expansion westward and solidified Islamic influence in Central Asia. It is also traditionally believed that Chinese prisoners of war captured at Talas brought the secrets of papermaking to the Islamic world, a technology that would revolutionize scholarship and administration. Further south, expeditions into the Sindh region of the Indian subcontinent, led by Muhammad bin Qasim in the early 8th century, established a lasting Muslim presence in what is now Pakistan. So, how did this happen? How could a force from the deserts of Arabia conquer two of the world's greatest empires and build a state stretching from Spain to India in just a century? Historians point to a combination of factors. First, the weakness of their opponents. The Byzantine and Sasanian empires were exhausted from their own wars. Second, the military effectiveness of the Arab armies. They were mobile, experienced in harsh conditions, and united by a powerful sense of purpose and faith. Their leaders were often brilliant strategists. Third, the policies of the conquerors. In many areas, they were seen as liberators from oppressive rule. They often allowed conquered peoples, especially Christians and Jews, to keep their religions in exchange for a tax, the jizya. This policy of relative tolerance reduced resistance and facilitated governance. Finally, the unifying ideology of Islam provided the motivation and social cohesion necessary for such a massive undertaking. The conquests of the 7th and 8th centuries didn't just change political boundaries. They reshaped the world. They created a new civilizational sphere, the Dar al-Islam, or House of Islam, that became a global center for science, philosophy, medicine, and art for centuries to come. The Arabic language spread as the language of administration and scholarship, and the cultures of the conquered peoples, Persians, Egyptians, Berbers, and Visigoths, blended with Arab traditions to create a vibrant, cosmopolitan Islamic civilization. The legacy of this period is immense and can still be seen today in the languages, cultures, and religions of millions across 3 continents. It was a whirlwind of change, a pivotal moment that set the stage for the next 1,000 years of world history. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey through history fascinating, please hit that like button. And subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. Let us know in the comments what piece of history you'd like to see us cover next. See you in the next video.